And also on the live stream they have the new
Here, I sent
yeah, it's working. It's working. כן, זה עובד. Excuse me? לא, מה לא חשוב?
שני ששלחת?
כן? לא, לא חשוב.
יוטיוב.
כן, כן, לא?
וידאו את זה.
יכול להיות שזה חסום, תמר? כי אומרים פה שייתכן שזה חסום. כן, בגלל זה יש לנו את הקונטרול שהם כרגע מתפעלים, ויש לך חשוב.
On behalf of the family of Neda Capel, Gros, Horowitz, Nacha, Deborah, Bat, Yisrael, and Abigail, thank you for being here to honor this extraordinary human being who was lost to the Jewish people today. We're going to start with a few Pirkei Tehillim, and then we'll hear from loved ones of Nedi. אשרי האיש אשר הולך בעצת רשעים ובדרך חטאים לא עמד ובמושב לצים לא ישב כי אם בתורת אדוני חפצו ובתורתו יגע יומם ולילה והיה כאיש שתול בפלגי מים אשר פריו ייתן בעיתו ועליהו לא יבוא וכל אשר יעשה יצליח לא כן הרשעים קים כמוץ אשר תטפן רוח על כן לא יקומו רשעים במשפט וחטאים בעדת צדיקים, כי יודע אדוני דרך צדיקים ודרך רשעים תאבד. מזמור לדוד, אדוני מי יגור באוהלך, מי ישכון בהר קודשך, הולך תמים ופועל צדק, ודובר אמת בלבבו, לא רגל על לשונו, לא עשה לרעהו רעה, וחרפה לא נשא על קרובו, נבזה בעיניו נמאס, ועת יראי אדוני יכבה, נשבע לרע ולא יאמר, כספו לא נתן בנשך, בנשך ושוחד כי לא לקח, עושה לא ימות לעולם. מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לא יחסר, בנודש ירביצני, על מי מנחות ינעלני, נפשי שווה גם חן ומגלי צדק למען שמו, גם כלך בגיא צל מוות, לא ירא כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי. וישנת בשמן ראשי כל סביביה, יחטוא וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. We're here to pay last respects to Nedi, mother to Ayala, to Tamar, Avi and Dani who are joining us on Zoom, sister to Michelle and to Kenny, grandmother to Yonatan, Ze'ev, Ilana, Ariella, and Yair, as well as Ma'ayan, Eitan, and Daphna, and late wife of Elliot Horowitz, Zichrono Livracha. Nettie was an extraordinary woman. I read a little bit about her today from the article that was written up today in Times of Israel. What an incredible human being. A great person has been lost to the Jewish people. We read in this last week's parashat Vayetze, Yaakov Avinu comes to the Be'er, he comes to the well, and he sees the Ro'ei Tzon standing next to the well, and they're just waiting, and he says, "What are you doing? The day is not over yet." And they tell him, "We're not able to remove the rock from the Be'er, and so we're waiting until a bunch of people come and we'll do it together." Lo nuchal is the phrase that they use. Lo nuchal, we are not capable of removing this rock. And Yaakov Avinu, he's standing there and he says, "Impossible. I'm going to make this happen." And we're told that Yaakov Avinu takes the rock off of the Be'er and he helps to water and give water to all of the tzon. This same Yaakov Avinu, who teaches us that nothing is impossible, in this week's parashat Vayishlach, he's struggling and fighting with the angel. And the angel, we're told, Vayar ki lo yachol lo vayiga b'kaf yirecho. Yaakov prevails, he struggles, he fights. He refuses to give up. The angel gives up. Vayar ki lo yachol lo, just like the Ro'ei Tzon. But Yaakov understands that to be a Jew means that you never give up. To be a Jew means that you struggle, that you fight. That you fight the fights that we need to fight. And you never give up. And Nettie was a person who did the impossible. Nettie was a person who gave a voice to the voiceless, fighting for agunot, fighting for Holocaust victims who were not recognized, fighting for the Jewish people in our homeland, Am Yisrael and Medinat Yisrael. But even in a more personal and intimate way, fighting for her friends and colleagues and fellow congregants, for people in her community here in Yerushalayim, New Olim, who came to the community. Tamara was telling me that she would do everything for friends. A new person came to the community who didn't know how to navigate Israel's bureaucracy. She would fight for them. She would help them out. She would lend a hand. She would do the impossible. She never gave up. She struggled. She fought, and she fought for others. She fought for her fellow Jews. And this is something that all of us need to internalize, to recognize her goodness, and to internalize her goodness, and to continue the fights that she fought on behalf of her friends, her community, her family, and all of Am Yisrael. I'd like to call up her brother, Kenny, who just flew in from America for this. Can you please share a few words?
Thank you, Rabbi. I think you sort of captured a central element of who Nettie was. I first, I don't want to really speak as much as I did. Sorry. But first, I just want to say thank you to a couple of people. Emily, who was Nettie's aide, who we found actually when her husband Elliot passed away. A neighbor had this aide who was looking for work, and she moved in with Nettie, and she came back to the States when we brought Nettie back. Children brought her back in 2019. And she was just an unbelievable, caring, compassionate aide for her. Her children, as I said at the funeral in New York, Tamar, Donnie, lived far away, did whatever they could. But Ayala, her daughter, was just unbelievable in managing her care. Her son Avi, big-hearted, always running to his mother, pushing her to walk. I remember I think we arranged for Nettie and her aide to go to a hotel in Long Beach. Nettie loved the beach. And they spent a few days there. And it wasn't easy, but Nettie enjoyed it immensely. And then we came to pick her up, and I remember she was struggling a little bit, sitting there on a bench on the boardwalk. And Javi showed up, and big, strong guy, and he says, let's go for a walk on the beach. We didn't think it was such a great idea, but, he willed it, and he almost carried her, struggling to walk on the sand all the way up to the water. Nettie and I were very close as children. She was 2 years younger than I am. She was, as I said, she was a fairly rebellious teen. And I think perhaps those of you that knew her later on in life could see that. I had a lot of friends because of Nettie, because they all wanted to date her, so that was a path. And many of them did, which bugged the hell out of me. But I think, I was just reading, I did read that beautiful obituary that Janine Zakaria wrote in the Times of Israel, and I thought she captured her very well. But I also read a first cousin once removed, Ezra Capel, and he wrote me a lengthy letter, which I can't read, but he summarized, if I had to summarize it, it was when he came to Israel from the States to study, and he went to Nettie's house frequently, and he hurt himself badly in a basketball game, and he went to a doctor that gave him very poor advice, and he came limping into Nettie's apartment, and she looked at his ankle. She said, "I've got to get you a better doctor," and she found an orthopedist, and he said, "It's too late to do anything with it, but you need physical therapy." And she went and she got on the phone, and he describes how he could hear her, and the physical therapist said, "I don't have time, I can't fit it in my schedule." She says, "You have to fit it in your schedule. I'm responsible for him, he's here alone," and this and that. And that was her. I mean, Rabbi spoke about her fighting, and that's what she did so well. Even this terrible illness that she was hit with, I was just telling someone, most people average lifespan 6 to 9 years. She went 11. But when I think of Nettie, the thing that stands out for me the most is how many people wanted to be like Nettie. Nettie would come into a room, she lit up the room, everyone wanted to talk to her. Her charm, her beauty, her wit, she was a magnet for people, and she knew exactly what to say to you, to anyone, to make you feel good. She knew how to say it, and she knew when to say it, but she had that very, very special human quality that made people feel good about themselves. Selfless, always thinking about helping the visitors, the guests, anyone who would come to to her home. I know there are a few speakers. I'm gonna end. I'm gonna miss her. She wasn't just my sister. She was a friend. She was a confidant. I loved her very much.
Ayala, Nettie's eldest daughter, is going to share a few words.
Thank you.
Move closer.
In New York, I shared a lot of my thoughts about who my mom was. And here I just wanted to pick a few memories. So one Hanukkah, when I was little, we were on the way to my grandparents' house. And I was very upset. I can't remember what it was. When we arrived, I was still, obviously, in a very bad mood. And instead of saying, Ayala, snap out of it, Ayala, what's going on? My mom took me into the bathroom and she put a little makeup on my face. And then she said, you look so much better now. And somehow her not engaging in what the problem was or recognizing that I had decided to cling to whatever drama I had invented solved the problem. And it was like a reset. And also, my mom never left her house without her brown and bronze eyeshadow and her Maybelline black mascara. Around the time of my bat mitzvah, we had just moved to Israel. So we didn't really know what it was like to make a bat mitzvah in Israel. My bat mitzvah was at the Hyatt Hotel. It was in a restaurant called Valentino's. It was lovely, and my mom arranged it. But somehow we forgot music. And the night of the bat mitzvah, she squared her shoulders, and she walked into the lobby, and she found these musicians playing in the lobby. And she asked them if they could perform. And anyone who knows me knows that I detest simcha dance music, so it was far from that. They played very old, sad Israeli folk songs. And my mom asked them, she said, can you play something a bit more cheerful? And they said, Gverti, אנחנו מוזיקאים. And she just rolls her eyes. So my lesson from that one is that she didn't get stuck. She didn't get stuck in perfection. She problem solved and she was creative. And a few weeks ago, my mom saw her doctor. It was a hard visit. She realized she had really declined. I was feeling kind of depleted when we got home to her apartment. And I just said to her, is it okay if I don't come upstairs? I just want to go take care of something. But honestly, I just wanted to escape it a bit. I got her out of the car. It was a process with the driver and Emily and the doorman, everyone. And she gripped my hand and she said, it's fine. She held down for another second. And I put my head close to her ear because speaking was really hard. And she said, I want to thank you. And I brushed it off. Somehow I said, it's my pleasure. And I wish I had gone up that day. But I recognize that quality of that graciousness when I think about how many people were in and out of our home and the vibe that she created there, the openness, the dynamic that was comfortable. I want to just speak a little bit briefly about this team that supported her at the end. Michelle, her sister, her big sister, was always pushing for experiences. She, just a few weeks ago, called me and said, we need to take your mom to the foliage. I had no idea what that was a thing. For me, just walk outside and see leaves. But apparently it's a place. And she really planned it. She said, do you think she could get on a cruise, on a foliage cruise? She really always extended herself in that way. And Kenny has been, you know, the voice of reason, the person to talk to, the person to go over things with, navigating difficult situations, his patience. Tamar, I think your visit was the thing that Mom was waiting for. I'm so grateful that you were there. And you know, you said to me, I called you and I said, I'm not going to be there until 10, whatever. And you said, take a break, I'm here. Take a break, I'm here. And Avi was so determined. He added such important things to my mom's care. Managing her pain was hard. He forced us to get medical marijuana. It was tremendous. Tremendous. He also really wanted my mom to swim. And he drove me crazy till I found a woman who would take her into a swimming pool. And she walked in that swimming pool this summer. And Donnie, in those last moments, you know, I'm always wanting to protect Donnie. I never want him to see anything hard. But he said to me that last night, he said Sunday night, he said, go home, I'm here. And I went home, and he was there. And I feel that our children are watching and learning the most important lessons. I'm trying to come to terms with what's going to happen next. Feels like a really incomprehensible visual to me. I'm trying to make a space for it. But I'm also recognizing that the next part is really ours. And it feels very fitting to be here in Jerusalem. There's a comfort that I'm getting just from being here and from being with all of you. And thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for being here today. Family, beloved friends, those we've seen recently and those we haven't seen for a long time. You made it out here tonight. Thank you all so much for being here. My brothers, Avi and Dani, both shared some words, and I wrote a few of my own, so I'm actually going to start by sharing their words. And these are the words of my brother Avi. Dear Mom, Ima Gibora Shiri, I miss you so much already. Ima Gibora Shiri, you were so beautiful, brave, and courageous. You took on social injustices and corrupt corporations with a fearless NCG spirit. Oh, the fearless NCG spirit. Ima Gibora Shiri, how many times did you selflessly sacrifice yourself for others? Mom, do you remember the time you published an article about an ultra-Orthodox woman who couldn't afford dental care? And after the article was published, you were contacted by a dentist who volunteered to fix the woman's teeth pro bono. Mom, do you remember when you met Bill Clinton in his prime, and your opening line was, so how are things looking in the Middle East? Ima Gibora Shiri, do you remember how every Saturday night you played Memory from Cats on the piano? I do, and I miss it. On your last days on Earth, I tried playing Memory for you on an acoustic guitar. Ima Gibora Shiri, you fought so courageously against your illness with the same fervor you fought against social injustice. Ima Gibora Shiri, you suffered so much. You didn't deserve to suffer. And despite all the suffering, you kept on fighting. You fought a relentless battle until the very end. Ima Gibora Shiri, can you find some comfort in that you were loved and embraced by every person you met? Whenever I came over to visit you, even though you couldn't walk anymore, even though it was hard for you to talk, you always asked me, "Are you hungry? Can I get you anything?" Do you remember when your career took you to war-stricken Bosnia and you helped bring awareness to the senseless suffering of the Bosnian people? Do you remember when we discovered that we could defeat your illness by holding my hands and shifting your weight from side to side? Do you remember when your thirst to help bring peace in the Middle East took you to Gaza, and how much you were loved by Janine, Sharon, Fern, and all your other colleagues at the report? I am heartbroken about the unjust circumstances that prevented me and Daniel from being there with you right now. With God's grace, we both hope to visit your place of burial in the right time. Ima Gibora Shiri, I miss you so much. NCG spirit, I cannot describe the pain I am dealing with. My computer is soaked with tears. You were a warrior of light, an advocate for the underprivileged, and you never took no for an answer. Ima Gibora Shiri, I will never forget how much you loved all of us and how much you loved every being who was blessed to cross your path. Ima Gibora Shiri, a wise man once told me that when a soul crosses over to the next world, they experience the culminating ripple effect of all the love and kindness they showed to others. As unbearable as this pain is, I took comfort in knowing how much love you must be experiencing. And my brother Avi shares a prayer to Hashem, and he writes, Dear the Almighty Creator of all that is, please, you are a merciful God. As your beloved child, Nachadabra, Bat Abigail Israel used to say, every person on this earth starts their journey in the same loving womb. We start from love, we return to love. Please, God, please, in the merit of Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah, and in the merit of all love and kindness our mom has shined towards others throughout her life, please wrap our beloved mom with tender love and delicate mercy. And Hashem, please create new bands of angels for all mankind, called Neri angels. Ima Gibora Shiri. In closing, I want to share a quote from Vince Gill. I know your life on earth was troubled. Only you can know the pain. You weren't afraid to face the devil. You were no stranger to the rain. Go rest high on that mountain. Your work on earth done. I wish I could see the angels' faces when they hear your sweet voice sing. Ima Gibora Shiri, you are eternally my hero. We will never stop loving you. Now rest in peace. And I continue to read you the words of my brother Dani. Ima, רבות הדרכים לאהוב אותך, ארוכה ביותר הדרך לשכוח. האהבה שנתת בנויה מדברים קטנים וגדולים, כמו הסעה יומיומית לבית הספר, ארוחות שבת שנמשכו לשעות הקטנות של הלילה, ועזרה עם שיעורי בית. החיים שלך היו קצרים מדי, אבל מלאים באלפי הרפתקאות. את מילאת את העולם הזה באהבה, ברעיונות, בכתבות, בחידושים, בחדשות. אני בטוח שתמלאי את העולם הבא גם כן. אני כל כך אסיר תודה לך על החיים, על חוכמה וכוח שנתת לי, לאחיי ולאחיותיי. בנך האוהב, איתך לנצח, דניאל חיים. And I conclude just with a few of my own words. Mom, it was for my 5th birthday party that you hired 2 horse and buggies to pick me and 7 other friends up and take us on a ride through Central Park. This was such a signature you moment, Mom. Magic at the corner of fantasy, creating something epic. You were not keen on our move to Israel, but after we moved, you kept on saying to me, "This is the greatest drama of the 20th century. How can I not be part of it?" And at the same time, you flourished here, and you flowered, and your career reached heights, especially in your work as a journalist at the Jerusalem Report. And I think about your vulnerability on the one hand, and your incredible strength, capability, perseverance, and creativity on the other. A puzzle I wish I could continue exploring with you, Mom. I remember your first piece. It was for the Jerusalem Post. It was published and we framed it. You went to Ulpan. You forced yourself to read the Hebrew newspaper. And I remember coming with you to our then unfinished house on Beit Eshel number 4, and you turned to me at some point after taking pictures, because it was really unfinished, and you said, "We are just going to have to move in." And that was what we did. That was the only way you said he would finish it. You showed such force and fortitude in those moments, physically plowing through to get things done. In my high school years, I would come home from school and climb up the stairs of Beit Eshel, and you would turn to me from your station at the computer, and you would say, "The day's already over?" And you would be sitting there with 3 half-empty coffee cups at different degrees of heat, a telephone, a transcriber, deeply immersed in your work. You would have your dark brown eyeshadow on and your green eyeliner. You featured people in your work, the sitting U.S. president at the time, Bill Clinton, but you tackled issues like lack of transparency and the claims conference and power relations. And your pieces were never fluff pieces. You always balanced a compliment with criticism, and you thought about how the person featured would feel. "I am a slow writer," you once told me. Maybe because you cared about the way your writing would be received. In the evenings, you would play at our baby grand piano, oftentimes Memory. And once you played Joan Baez, and you said to me, "Dad and I fell in love to this soundtrack." In the evenings, at times, you wore my favorite studded black high heels, and you would clack around with them. And on Fridays, we would sit in the Mitsubishi Space Wagon, and you would ask me to read out the pieces that you had just published that week. I can still feel you listening to me, vigilant, deeply present, ready to pounce on any misplaced word. You loved your editors, and I know they're here today, but your craft was your language, your vocabulary, and the words you selected and placed together in surprising ways. We would buy fruits and vegetables, and you would always say, the tomatoes in Israel, they're like candy. You were, in those years, to borrow a word from my daughter, iconic. You were a great friend. I will never forget your tireless efforts in making a shidduch, in how you worked, even late at night, until you brought a couple together to live happily ever after. In 2017, you lost both your husband Elliot, alav hashalom, and your own mother, beloved grandma Eva. Once your illness progressed, it started eating into your balance and eventually your ability to walk. In 2018, you moved back to New York, and here I want to acknowledge my 3 siblings and aunt and uncle, who you really loved to pieces. Ayala, who woke up every morning thinking about your logistics and whatever else you needed. Avi, who believed you should be able to do anything and everything. And Dani, who was with you in those very final moments. I also want to mention Emily, your aide, who literally stood by you as well as she could to address your needs. In all of the obstacles you faced, you showed the same perseverance, humor, and hope. We had a bit of a ritual when we both lived in New York City. I would come to visit you on Sundays. We spoke of old times, the Catskills, the different families that came, and how it all played out. You had a deep understanding of motivations because you saw both the dark and the light sides of people. As your illness progressed, it stole your balance and eventually your mobility. But once, you asked me to help you get up. And it was then, Mom, that I had a final opportunity to wrap my arms around you so that I could support you. Because I think really that for you, motherhood was never just about stories. It was a tactile endeavor. And when I give our children butterfly kisses, bringing my eyelashes to their cheeks, and then fluttering them up and down, I think of you because I learned that from you. And when I give my child a kiss on one cheek and then I say, well, the other side is jealous, I'm emulating you. And when, in moments of stress, I find it in me to sing, it's because you, Mom, you did this for us. And though I know I can't sing just now, I'll mention and close with one of the songs you taught me verbatim. All my bags are packed. I'm ready to go. I'm standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye. אמא אהובה, נוחי אל נשכבך, ותהיה מנוחתך מנוחת עולמך.
מכביה בן מהללל אומר, הסתכל בשלושה דברים, והנה אתה בא לידי עבירה. דם יין ואתה ולאן אתה הולך, ולפני מי אתה עתיד ליתן לי בחשבון. מיין ואתה ולאן אתה הולך, ממקום עפר רימה ותולעה, ולפני מי אתה עתיד ליתן לי בחשבון. לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ורוח מחבר עוון ולא ישחית, וירבה להשיב אפו ולא יאיר כל חמתו. קדיש.
Skadal, Skadash, Mirabah, Yaman, Rock, Say, Yatmak, Say, Yatmak, Renee, Kareem, Shikai, the Kai, Khan, the Kai, the Gomez, Israel, Bible love, my career, the Ruam, Yisparach, Yishtabach, Yispar, Yisramam, Yisnasei, Yishadar, Yisalev, Yisalol, Shmei, Kushab, Leilon, and Kobak Masar, Shirasat, Tukasab, and Nechmasar. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba ben Shemaya v'chai and Tovim Aleinu v'alkol Yisrael v'ru Amen. Yiseh Shalom v'rama v'yaseh Shalom Aleinu v'alkol Yisrael v'ru Amen.
קהל נכבד, מסע הלוויה יוצא לגוש מ"ט, אנחנו ממתינים פה למטה בצומת. קהל המלווים ייכנסו לרכבים, ייסעו אחרינו בשיירה בדרך מספר 9, הגעה לחלקם ברכבים זה רחוק. ידידים וקרובים מתכבדים בנסיעת המיטה, מי שרוצה לגשת בבקשה. אשת חיים מי ימצא ורחוק מפנימי מכתב בתרבלים בעלה בשכנה לא יחצה גמלת אותו ולא רע כל ימי חייה עד הרשת צמר ובשלימת אז בחפץ כפיה הייתה קוניות סוחר ממרחק תביא לך מוות הקום עוד לילה ותתן תרף לביתה בחוק לנערותיה זממה על שדה ותיקחהו מברי כפיה נטעה כרם חגה בעוז מותניה ותאמץ זרועותיה טעמה כי טוב שכר לך ובלילה נראה ידיה שלך בקישור וכפיה תמכופה לך כפה פרסה לעני בידיה שלך לעבר לא תירא לביתה משלג כי כל ביתה לבוש שנים מרבדים הסטלל שיש בארגמן נבושרנות הבשרים בעלה בשיבתו עם תקנה הארץ תדין על סבא שמתו בחגון עדה לכנני עוד להדר ובשרמת השמקים במסרון כי הפתחה בחוכמה ותורת כפר לפנות ולכם ולכם עצמות לא תאכל כמו בניה וישוע בעלה ויעלה רבות בנות וסופיים והטלית על כולנה שקר אחר והבל היופי שרירת אדוני תתהלל תנו לעמי פרי ידיה ויללו הבשרים מעשה הקוויה בן מעלה ללומר יסתכל בשלושה דברים ונתבא לידי עבירה דע מאין באת, אתה הולך ולפני מי אתה עתיד לי תני בחשבון מאין באת אתה הולך למקום הפעמים לפני מי אתה עתיד לי תני בחשבון לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא והוא רחום יכפר עוון ולא ישחית וירבה להשיבה פה ולא יאיר כל חמתו קדיש
יסקדם ויסקדם שמי רבה
אמן
יעמוד ברוך הוא סגן לפעמים וישמח ברוך הוא וקרא משיחה נא יחן ונכם לכדור בייס ישראל בא גלו זמן קריב ואמרו אמן שמי רבה יסברך וישתבח ויסבר בסרמן מסעשה בסדר בסלב בסלב שמי גבשה בריחו ואילו מקבל חסב שירה זה תברוך חסב נח מסעד אמיר ואמר ואמרו אמן יש לנו רבה ונשמע לחיים טוב מלאין ולכל ישראל ואמרו אמן ויסר שלום ברממה ויעשר שלום מלאין אבל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן
אנא בכור גדולת ימינך תרצו קבל רינת עמך סגלנו תרינו נורא גיבור דורשך אותך כדבת שומרם ברכם שערי מחמאית צדקתך תמיד גומלם חסים קדוש מאוד וחנאין עד עשיך
מחכים פה בצומת מין של כהן
משתתף בצערכם.
משתתפים בצערכם
שלא תדעו צער.
אבי ודניאל והאחות מישל
בבקשה לגשת לרכבים ולנסוע. שביל 9, אחרינו בשנייה, רק יכול לישון שביל 9.
אוקיי, יש עכשיו הפסקה בשידור, נחזור עוד כרבע שעה לשידור. We're going to stop right now the streaming and we'll come back in a few minutes. Thank you.
You see him?
You're going to have to share them. I don't think so. I don't think so because most of those kapels would be with a K, and now our original name was Kapelushnik. It was the Polish name. Yeah. So anyway, but thank you for coming. Just when I need to be there.
אנא בכוח כתבתי משפט עתיר צבורה כבד תגרנו נורא גיבור דוד לב אותה כמעט כמו בכם מתקדות ברוב תחנה עם לדעת לך כגלל המחפמת
Ken, is Ken here? Ken is here, okay. Everyone's here?
כולם פה? לתפאורה בת ישראל אנחנו מבקשים ממך מחילה, סליחה וכפרה.
It's the same one, same thing.
והוא רב יכבד אותו ולא יסכים בלבא להשיב לבוא ולא יעיר כמו חמתו ולא יסכים בלבא להשיב לבוא ולא יעיר כמו חמתו והוא בחור יכבד ולא יסכים בלבא להשיב לבוא ולא יעיר כמו חמתו מי שרוצה לגשת לכנסות בבקשה. אל מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים אמצי מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע אמירים ומזהירים לנשמת נתי דבורה בת ישראל שהלכה לעולמה. נתי נחה דבורה בת ישראל שהלכה לעולמה בעבור שבני משפחתה מתפללים ונותנים בלי נדר צדקה בעד הזכרת נשמתה בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה לכן על הרחמים יסתירה בסתר כנפיו בעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה אדוני נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן. נטי נחה דברה, בת ישראל, בשם החברה קדישה, בשם החברים והחברות שהתעסקו בך, בשם משפחתך, קרובייך, בשם מכרייך וידידייך, אני מבקש ממך מחילה, סליחה וכפרה. אם חס ושלום פגמנו איזשהו דבר בטהרה, בנשיאת המיטה או בתיקון הכבל, סלחינה לנו כשגגת. כל מה שעשינו היה לכבודך, על פי מנהגי ירושלים, עיר הקודש. פותרים אותך להיות חברה בכל חברה או אגודת איזו שהיא. לכי בשלום, ותנוחי על משכבך בשלום, ותעמדי לגורלך לקץ הימים. היינה מליצה טובה בת משפחתך, קרובייך, בת מכרייך, וידידייך ובת כל עם ישראל. חיים ושלום יהיה לנו לכל ישראל עד העולם, אמן. ונשמתה צבורה, צרור החיים. בלב צאן. מן השמיים תנוחם, רק בשורות טובות, רק שמחות ולב שמח.
Amen. Just an announcement in terms of the Shiva. Tomorrow we'll be sitting Shiva here in Israel in Ra'anana, 40 Rehov Brandeis, number B, 40B. Starting tomorrow morning through Tuesday morning, there will be Arvit at the home at 8:15 p.m. each night. And Ayala, Dani, and Avi, and Ken will be sitting Shiva in Teaneck, and Michelle will be sitting Shiva in Teaneck, New Milford, 624 Newbridge Road, and the details will be sent out for there. We wish the family only besorot tovot, min hashamayim tenuchamu, shetehei nishmatech, nishmata neta nacha Debra bat Yisrael v'abigail. Nacha Debra בת ישראל בבגיים שתהי נשמתה תורה בצורה בחיים.
Amen.
There will be Arvit on the road right after we go up Arvit will be in the Rechava once we exit the Beit HaKfarot, and please stand for two shirot once you get up to the road. Wherever before. That's the exit from there.
Oh, okay.
צדקה לעילוי נשמתה, זה זכות גדול עכשיו לתת צדקה. מצוות בשורות טובות. צדקה לעילוי נשמתה, תזכו למצוות מן השמיים תנחמו. במקום מנחם אתכם בתוך שאר המלך ציון ירושלים, ולא תוסיפו נדע מאוד. בשורות טובות, בשורות טובות.
Go back to where we were.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The big Chanaya.
Right. Okay.
Back in the car?
Yeah. Okay, please join us to make two shirot as we get to the left hand. On the left hand. Let's go to the phone. Even the left hand.
בבקשה להדליק את הפנסים בטלפונים.
Open the lights in the phone. Please. Open the lights.
Watch.
One word or two words.
תהיה מליצה טובה על כל המשפחה ועל כל עם ישראל.
המון צנעה לדרך. קום.
She told me right after she watched the one in New York, and she wanted to get some biographical details.
עשו שתי שורות לפעמים.
Every time I sat down to work, I couldn't write. But everything was in my mind probably too jumbled.
המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שער עדי ציון בירושלים.
המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שער עדי ציון.
המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שער עדי ציון. Yeah, we're going to do our feet right here.
Yeah.
Out of the road. Okay, everyone's welcome to join us for our feet.
Alright, we done Damar?
Yeah, let's do it right. You want to start right now? And Yeah, Ken, you ready?
זה נורא, אבל...
כן, היא הרגישה את זה, אמא שלי הרגישה את זה. כן. שואל? You have to tell me. What? Must tell me. I really want to hear. Yeah. You're the link now. You're the link. You're our person now.
She swallowed the bread.
We just talked about her.
I remember walking with my sister in the street. Why she had swallowed that bread and was so worried what it's going to be. But the doctor said that the stomach for the child is inclined like this, and you have to wait. So she went up the puppy and she made it.
And then every time they had to check.
Yeah. I think she kept this.
Right. Yes, I think you're right. I think you're right. Yes. Michelle was just telling me.
And she celebrates 5 and 10.
You have to just try to eat it.
זה רק הייתה עוד יותר יפה מזה.
You at Naomi? We miss Grandma also. We miss Grandma. Yeah. What did you say?
I remind you probably about
You do. You do.
We're 5 years difference. She was 5 years older than me.
Quite a big difference. Uncle Kenny has the most amazing videos of you. Of you and Grandma in your 40s. Unbelievable.
Oh, you are.
He has to send them to you.
Yeah, I like
Really
it.
incredible. It's when Leon was a baby. You picked him up.